I'm Simon Shearer-Wright. I was formerly Simon Wright, but got married last year, so I've added another surname just to complicate things. I'm head of talent and HR at CPL Productions. We make Married at First Sight, Love Is Blind UK, League of Their Own, Rob and Rom, and lots more. It was my Christmas party yesterday, so I'm feeling a little bit tired, but do ask me any questions that we've got. And I will throw over to Jonathan.
Hey there, thanks, Simon. I'm Jonathan Pascoe. I'm Senior Director of Digital Content and Production for MTVE Entertainment Group International. As Emerald said, there's lots of names for our company and lots of bits of it, but that's me at Paramount. So I head up digital content for MTV and Comedy Central in the UK and around the world as well. We make a lot of content in English language and local languages as well. I'm working with all the different teams. I really hope I'm not the only one doing Christmas jumper day today, but hey, if it is just me, that's fine. I'm bringing the
I'm loving it. Set the trend, be a trendsetter. Be a trendsetter, that's what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? That's fantastic. So in who are we going next?
And we'll go with Bridget next, shall we?
Hi, I'm Bridget Banton, and I'm currently working at Paramount. I'm a acquisitions and programming director for Milkshake, which is the preschool block in the morning. Basically, I'm a commissioning editor. I'm a bit of a career commissioning editor because I've commissioned also at Channel 4 across documentaries, education, features, and I've also commissioned at the BBC. But I've also, interestingly enough, just returned to TV after 10 years away. I went to do lots of different things, and I literally returned this year, so I can relate to a lot of you. I've done lots and lots of things, which I can tell you about later. But yeah, just stay positive because, you know, ultimately you're in control of your own career. You're in control of your own destiny. And I mean, if I can come back, anyone can come back.
I think that's so important to hear, Bridget, because I think a lot of people are so scared about doing alternative jobs because they'll never get back in. So the fact that you went for 10 years, 10 whole years, and have come back as a commissioner, well, then there's hope for everybody. You know, it's really positive and important to hear. Who are you going to throw it to?
Sorry, I will throw to Robert.
Thank you very much. My name is Rob Wilkinson. I'm the head of Red Talent Management. We're an actors and creatives agency. We are based in the Midlands and London and Manchester, and we represent actors and creatives. And we were last year nominated by the Edinburgh TV Festival as Best Agency for New Talent. We didn't win, but you know, it's nice to be recognised after 11 years.
It's got to be in it to win it, I say. You guts to be in it.
Exactly.
Oh, and my camera's off. Okay. Who are you going to throw it to?
I can't see anybody else because I've only got one screen for some.
So I think if I go, you go, yeah.
Hi there, my name's Ifeyinwa. Everyone calls me Faye, much easier to pronounce. I'm a talent manager at All3 Media, and I cover, oh goodness, everything from scripted to unscripted and digital. So we make a range of different programs, and we have about 40 labels under our umbrella and make everything from sort of Traitors all the way through to Fleabag. So quite a multitude of different content under our banner. Nice to meet you all.
Gosh, it's wonderful. And that's such an array. So we've got talent that work across, we've got talent managers, we've got kind of development execs, quite a good spread so that you should be able to kind of get all your kind of career needs or questions asked. Before we kind of jump into questions, let me get a show of hands or put it in chat. Are you currently out? Who's currently out of work? Who's currently out of work? Are we all working? Currently out of work, yeah. Have you been out of work for more than 6 weeks? No? So as we're kind of winding down into the new year, people are starting contracts and stuff. Yeah, I can see Monica. All right. So a few people have been out of work. Does anybody want to kick off with a question? Anybody brave enough to be the first person to ask a question? Lots of hands going up. Me, and then Chelsea, can you help me? Because I haven't got my glasses on and you can see all these hands. So can you shout who's going to be the first person we're going to ask a question from? Chelsea, because I can see. All right, I'm going to take Samantha first. And then Chelsea, if you can just let me know who else is there, that'd be great. Yeah. Hi, Samantha.
Oh, yes, yeah. Can you see me? Hi. Sorry, I'm in a loud cafe. But thank you guys for being here today. Really appreciate it. I wanted to ask a question. specifically about hair and makeup behind the scenes on these productions. We're a London-based Afro hair and makeup agency that provides hairstylists, makeup artists, barbers, manicurists that know how to do all hair types, all skin tones, and everything in between. What's the best way to get our artists to you all to work on the productions?
Good question. Who's going to take that question? I mean, no, most of you guys don't necessarily work in that way. I don't know. Maybe Rob, that's one for you because you're kind of an agency for creatives. Have you got any advice on what you...
Well, personally, we don't actually produce anything, obviously, but if I was you, I would contact producers of TV programs, or if you know crew, get in touch with people who supply crew to people. Because we don't have any makeup artists on our books. We don't really sort of put those kind of people forward. We are mainly kind of actually people who are actors and creatives, so writers, casting directors, that kind of thing. But
Bridget, have you got some advice on what can be done?
Yes, I can't see you because I can't work out how to see the person speaking. But recently, I think you were there too, Simon. There was a documentary that was commissioned by Sky that was produced in association with Doc Hart, so you can probably search that up. And it was really about the story of actors and actresses behind the scenes not having their needs catered for. And off the back of that, the person who's responsible for DEI at Sky announced that they're starting a new fund, and a new kind of initiative specifically to address this issue at Sky. So I think that might be a good place to start. There's money that has been ring-fenced. There's somebody who is responsible for that money, and it is specifically to ensure on every Sky production that the needs of the actors and actresses are met in terms of their hair texture and skin complexion. So that may be somewhere to start.
And I reached out to them, and they told me, I reached out to quite a lot of people at Sky, and they told me that they actually don't have anything to do with the producing of the shows that they get. They just kind of bring the shows on, so they couldn't really send us to the producers to tell them, hey, we have these people who will fill that gap behind the scenes. So do you know who the DEI person would be that I could contact?
No, I think you'll have to research that yourself. But what I would suggest, though, is if you go back then to the person who produced that documentary, obviously it was her passion project. It was something she felt very strongly about. She did a lot of research and she has a lot of contacts. If I were in your position, I would contact the director and the producer. I would contact Doc Hart, and I would just start writing a lot of letters and reaching out to people on socials and trying to tap into that ecosystem, because if that's someone's passion project and it's basically been screened, there's sort of energy behind it, I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and I would echo that.
Thank you.
And also look at programs, the credits. I think people really underestimate the power of the credits when you watch a program, right? All the people who worked on the program is on the end of the program, right? So maybe reach out to head of productions, look at drama productions, start your presents and just introduce and ask them who would I speak to, and you'll eventually find your way. So that's really good advice. Thanks, Bridget.
Thank you.
Fumi, Simon, please go ahead.
I was just saying, just quickly, also look at casting announcements, look at kind of what productions are being announced in terms of X production company is making whatever with whoever. And if you've got particularly a predominantly Black cast, or there's Black cast members in there, that's a way in for you to then to engage with the production manager and say, look, I see this has been announced. We are specialists in Afro hair and makeup, blah, 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 blah. And then that would give you a little talking point into having a discussion about it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Chelsea, whose hands up next, please?
There is Angus.
Angus, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much for doing this. I would have two questions actually, because one of them is I'm an actor, and during the whole strike period, I lost my agent, and now I'm trying to look for a new one. Would this be a good time, or should I wait for the next year once things start rolling again?
Good time for what?
Sorry?
Sorry, what did you say? Good time for? Is it good time
to start applying again to seek representation?
Rob, do you want to maybe go for that?
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear you lost your agent, and it has been a bit of a quiet period. I know lots of people have been saying this in the PMA. It's been a very quiet kind of 6 months, really. But I think you can apply anytime. I wouldn't wait. Always do it now if you can. If you've got a track record and you've got a CV, get it out to people now. Don't worry about waiting till after the new year. People will file it. They might not come back to you till the new year, but yeah, write to people, write to me.
The only time is now. You've only got now.
Yeah.
That's the only moment we've got. Yesterday's already happened. Tomorrow, we don't know if it's actually going to happen. We've only got right now. So utilize right now. And even at the very least you can do is you make an introduction, and then you go back next year and you follow through. So don't wait, jump on it.
Exactly. I agree totally.
Yeah, we've got a really good question here. And I think this is for, I'm going to kind of to the whole panel. Sufian's asked, are you internally having conversations about the employment crisis, and what's those conversations? Kate, if I asked that for you first, I mean, being an talent exec, are you guys having conversations internally about what's going on with the employment crisis, and what are the kind of suggestions, or how are you guys kind of tackling or handling it?
So we have found in Unscripted that really for about the past 6 months, it has been incredibly quiet across the group, which is very unusual because normally things go slightly in cycles and one company might be busier than others. But on the whole, we've had very, very few commissions. So it's been like a really difficult and pretty worrying time. And frustratingly mixed messages from the channel about when things might be commissioned. So projects that have sort of been in the pipeline for ages just haven't ever got over the line, or series that we thought would be returning haven't returned or have been pushed back. So on the whole, our workforce has been just getting smaller and smaller. And there aren't those sort of returning projects that we would normally have lots of freelancers involved with, or have staffing, lots of kind of staffing needs. So it has been a very difficult time. And we're just hoping that it's going to pick up. There's been some rumblings that things may be happening in January. So that's sort of where we're at in terms of.
And are you guys kind of, what kind of plans or support are you guys thinking about in terms of kind of supporting the kind of freelance community? Have you guys have started thinking about or having internal conversations or what that might look like or what can be done?
So what I've been doing personally is anyone who's got in touch with me, I'm very happy to give any kind of CV advice, career advice, point people in the right direction of jobs I might have heard of. I've been having lots of conversations with people that I haven't been able to have time with previously. So that's been really, really helpful. And advising people on what to do, really with their CVs and how to get them out there as best as possible. So that's kind of what I've been doing on a personal level.
I mean, that's really important. I think it's such an important time, even though it is downtime. There's still things that you can be doing, right? Working on your CV, networking, meeting people, going in to meet people. I mean, Simon, what kind of from your position, and I know that you've been talent king, aren't you? You've been in this space for ages, so you know what I mean?
You've got to be old, Simone.
I was politely calling you old. What's your take on it? And then Faye, I'd love to hear from you as well.
I mean, I think just echoing what Katie said, it is quite bleak at the moment. We are lucky to have some good big returning things, but a lot of it feels quite slow in terms of getting decisions from broadcasters and stuff. So I think it's also, and I think a lot of companies are looking at other ways to produce content as well. So I think, for example, we've just launched a Married at First Sight podcast. I know that people are looking at kind of short form things as well. I've met with lots of people who, and get, like Katie said, giving careers advice and sat down with, and maybe getting people to think slightly outside the box. So somebody that I was talking to recently is just doing a 6-month stint at the NHS, doing films for the NHS, which is not necessarily something that they wanted to do initially, but it is something that's taken them down the corporate route for a bit. But then they can obviously come back into television. But there's things like that, or short form, content, or there are still opportunities in things that may not feel proper pure telly, as it were. And I know I've spoken to lots of people that feel like if they move out of telly, there's no going back. And I don't feel like that is the case at all. And obviously, Bridget, you're a prime example of that. But I feel people perhaps have to pivot a little bit in this, and I think we had, after the pandemic, an absolute flood of commissions as well. So, as talent people around the table will know that it was a real struggle to find people. There was a real drought of talent. And I think now it's kind of gone too far the other way, and there's lots of amazing people available as well. And I feel there are people that are moving out of the industry, but I feel like it will turn a corner. I'm being very positive. I feel like it will turn a corner, and there will be stuff that will come through. I think it's about managing as best you can, and looking at how you can kind of get through that, but also perhaps trying to think a little bit more laterally about, is there other work, or is there other industries that are easily transferable as well, and I've seen that with a few people. And just the NHS example is somebody that I was talking to very recently, who's gone down the corporate route as well, not permanently, just temporarily, until things pick up as well. Because I think sometimes in telly we get into our headspace that this is the only thing that we can do, and we don't necessarily appreciate our worth. And I think sometimes other industries can go, oh my God, you've got this, you've got that would be perfect for us, I
think I agree with that. I think if you've most of you guys, or I don't know what, obviously we've got quite a big group, but if you guys have worked on some really big branded stuff, or BBC or most people outside of TV don't know. They just think, oh my God, you've worked for Channel 4, and bite your hand off, right? So there are plenty of opportunities. Obviously, I was speaking to somebody recently who's decided to be an Uber driver because they need immediate money, and I get that. But it's a bit of a waste, right? You've got all they were like, they were producing like this big BBC series producer at BBC. Come on, people will bite your arm off. So there is a world outside of TV that you can come back to. There's a lovely lady in the yellow. Your name begins with Y. I haven't got no glasses, so I can't see what your name is. You've got glasses on, I believe. You've got your hand up. Please, you go. Yes, please. You go ahead. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yanchi, and I've just finished my master's this year. So actually, I've relocated to London last year, and I had 2 years experience in reality TV as I grew from a runner to assistant director and writer and floor manager, but that was in another country, so not here, basically. So I've tried to apply for different graduate schemes before, and they said that I was overqualified for it because I had 2 years experience, apparently. And I didn't want to do like kind of runner roles because I feel like it's more comfortable for me to be in this country, to be more like take more in-house roles rather than being on set. But I don't mind being on set, but I just maybe at this point I wanted to be more in-house. And I tried to apply for different roles but haven't heard back. Sometimes people say that I'm overqualified for entry-level roles.
So are you trying to get some advice in terms of how
yeah.
Faye, do you want to take this one? Faye, do you want to go?
Yeah, no, it's hard to try and know without seeing your CV fully. But I think in terms of the experience that you've already garnered from being in China and then bringing that and transferring it over to here, yes, you've got that body of experience already behind you. So I can understand in regards to the schemes that you're trying to apply for. I would say in terms of that, rather than going in-house, have you tried focusing more on actual productions and shows that are happening, and in terms of your application for those?
Maybe because of the past 6 months that there were no projects going on.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
it's mainly just been the in-house. Okay. It's really hard for me to, like I said, to try and know what to say without seeing your CV. But I I would say just because of the current climate, I know, yes, there's not been much going on. And then also there's been a lot of scaling back in terms of in-house roles as well. I would still keep going in regards to applying for stuff, and then also reaching out, you know, sort of like speculatively in regards to companies that you've earmarked, and network and speak to, you know, both producers and talent teams within those production companies, because it's better to get ahead of the game rather than waiting until something's actually advertised. Get yourself on the radar in terms of those companies, do a little bit of research about their output, and just kind of align what you're writing in terms of your email to them, to each specific company. So don't make it a very blanket one and sending the same kind of email and CV to each company being the same thing. Kind of tailor it slightly.
And I think it's so important because companies know that you care and you're looking at their content, right? Rather than just, I'm sending a generic email out. Jonathan, is there kind of opportunities in the digital space, do you think? Like a lot of, seeing that TV is having this moment, is that the same true? Is the same true for the digital space?
I think our production levels have generally stayed pretty much the same. It's tough for the industry in general, but we are a sort of small part of the machine in some ways. So we've not been unaffected, but not been affected in the same scale, that's for sure. And I've definitely heard the narrative of people sort of saying like there's you know, scope to move into digital and move around. I like what Simon was saying about kind of the NHS opportunity that someone you met had. You know, like there's the stuff that we do in our department, there's a lot of editing of material. So editors who can work on long form can easily turn their hand to short form and digital content in some ways. A lot of them can, a lot of them do. And we do productions as well. We do small productions, shooting in studio or on location. But we also have a localization team, and we have sort of project management and distribution. There's not loads of roles, but there's a few roles there. So, you know, there are those sort of sideways roles sometimes where you might not be working as a production manager, you know, on a specific production, but maybe you can use those skills to work on a pipeline of content for a brand, whether that be a broadcaster like ourselves and distributing our content around the world, or whether that's more from an agency point of view. You know, we our localization lead that we brought into our sort of new team this year mostly came from an advertising agency background, and they had much more overlap with our world than, you know, someone who had been in some other areas, you know. So the overlaps are quite interesting, where you sort of can see your skills being used. It certainly from my point of view, there's not like a whole host of new opportunities. We're not in a position where we're needing to bring loads of extra people in, but I certainly like the thought of how can you use your skills to, you know, do something that's similar in a slightly different area. I like that a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and please, guys, check out the chat because there's some really great advice being given out in the chat as well, in terms of like, if you've got a language that you can utilize, maybe that might be a way in because you've got a really good language skill that people don't know. So there's always different ways, and hopefully by the end of this session, you guys feel quite inspired and able to kind of go out and think about how you can create opportunities. Is it Fumi? Is that, yeah? Am I saying your name? I'm really bad. I'm so dyslexic, so I can't pronounce anybody's name. So please don't take offense. Yes, please. You go ahead. Thank you very much. Lovely hair, brown. Kind of beige.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You're like talking to me. Hi. Firstly, thank you so much for putting this together, and thank you to our panel to giving the time up to like talk to us. I really appreciate it. I have kind of two questions for Ifeyinwa and Bridget. Firstly, for Bridget, as someone who spent 10 years away from the TV sector, but is now in editorial, I was just wondering what kind of roles that you had when you were away from TV that enabled you to have an editorial role in TV now? Because I work in editorial, well, I did until like the drought, and you know, with everything going on, I still want to remain in editorial, but I want to make sure that my skills can be transferable to editorial as well. I'm wondering what kind of roles or what would you recommend for editorial?
Yeah, that's a good question, and nice to meet you too. Number one, I think, you know, your skills are your skills. They're not really going to go anywhere. If you have been trained, like I was a commissioning editor before I took well, I just pivoted and I tried to do lots of other things. And I was trained. I mean, I worked at Channel 4 for 4 years. I worked at the BBC as a commissioning editor for 3 years. I know how to commission, I know how to bring in a show. So whether I then go and work at Nike, which is what I did, I was a senior director for one of their NGOs called Girl Effect. I did that, and I ran a project in Rwanda and Malawi for them. And then I went to work at Penguin Random House, and I was a senior commissioning editor in audiobooks and podcasting. And this is 2013, before anyone thought podcasting was a thing. So I was a bit of an early adopter in that space. I also went back to university and I did a PGCE. So I'm a qualified primary school teacher and a maths teacher. So yeah, I mean, I think really for me, I'm the wrong person for this because I'm all about the mindset. And I think that mindset is everything. And I think it's about crafting your own career. I've always controlled my career. The job works for me. I don't work for anybody. I have a clear idea of what I want to achieve. I have a clear idea of what I want to get from each opportunity. And that's how I go into it. And when it doesn't serve me anymore, I move on. And so rather than feeling that there's a drought, I think it's an opportunity. I think you have to decide and prioritize what is important to you. If it's money, then you need to go and you need to just get cash. You need to go and Uber. If you have the capacity to take on projects and you don't need to earn money urgently, then be creative, make films, create, write scripts, produce and put it out there. Social media is your friend. You can promote it, create a brand. You can do it all yourself. You don't need a broadcaster to give anything to you. You can create it for yourself if that's your mindset. So I don't think you should worry so much about pausing in your career. I think that you need to think about what you need to prioritize. If you need to eat, you need to eat. If you need money, you need to go and get money. You need to survive. I think that's your priority. You just need to understand what your priorities are and then order your life accordingly. I don't know if that's helpful.
I think no, but I don't think that's helpful. I think that's essential.
Okay.
Because what it is that I think that too many people are so reliant, like the industry is doing this and the industry is doing that. You are all part of the industry, but you're all individuals, right? With your own objectives and aims and goals of things that you want to do. Yeah. So you have the right, the choice, and you should have the agency to decide what it is you want to do with your career and make that work, right? Do you know what I mean? And ask for what you want, make powerful requests and kind of utilize this. This time is an opportunity. I know it feels really, really dark out there, but it's a bloody opportunity. One of the things I want to say to you, Emerald, in terms of should people be thinking about developing ideas up? Is there any tips or advice in terms of what can they be doing in this downtime whilst looking for work, particularly if they want to tell stories? Have you got any advice in terms of developing ideas up and how they could be utilized in this time?
Yeah, so I've had a couple of thoughts I think one of them is I was trying to think what makes people stand out on a production or on a development team. And quite often it's just if they have a passion for a particular type of TV or the thing that they're doing. And so partly I was just thinking it might sound small, but just watching as much of the stuff you want to make as you can. Because I can't tell you the difference when you're speaking to someone and they're like, yeah, I don't really watch much TV. And you're like, oh, I really need someone who's passionate about it compared to someone who's like, I love these shows for these reasons. So I think that kind of building up your specific interests and the things that you love. And I don't even necessarily think doesn't have to be in the exact genre that you work in. I think there are things that I've seen in the scripted genre that have then influenced me to when I'm developing non-scripted stuff. So I think it's just taking in as much inspiration as you can. And then I was also thinking I think it's kind of along the lines of what you were saying. The industry is one thing, obviously, but there's also so many other people, probably your peers in similar positions to you, that are also wanting to make stuff. There are types of people out there that just can't help but make stuff. So I think it's also finding those people and doing something together. And maybe one of you has a camera that you can use to make something look great, and one of you has some scripting skills. So I think it's finding those other people that have the same passion as you, I think, is a really useful thing to do. Yeah.
And I would also say, when you're watching all those programs and you're seeing programs that you like, make a note of who produced it. Make a note of the production company that made it. Make a note of the exec. Is there any other? What other credits that should they be making a note of? Simon, what other credits, and Faye, what other credits? I always kind of say production is producer, director. Who else should they be making notes?
Series producer, production manager, I think, as well. Depending on what department they are working in, you know, whether it's post or whatever, then find the most relevant senior person in that department. Just following on from what Emerald was saying, I think when times are tough in this industry, it's quite easy to become very insular, and I think that's probably the worst time to do that. And as a group of creative people, I think it's important that you still get out there, meet people, collectively work together as well, you know. And I think, you know, talented people are doing like sessions where freelancers can drop in. There's stuff going on that I think is really important. Also, a lot of things that people say to me, and I'm sure to other talent people as well, is they feel like once they've contacted a particular company and they don't hear back, they can't contact again. And it feels like you still need to be on that wheel, and you still need to be giving people a reason to be wanting to see you. And again, it's also, you know, like looking at your kind of unique selling points, your different skills, and it can be something that's maybe not super obvious to you, but following on from what somebody said in the chat, your language skills could be the key for you to get on a production. Your passion about a particular thing that you do in your own time could be something that helps you get on a particular production because you've got knowledge about that. So sometimes it's just thinking outside that as well. I think that helps.
We're creative people, right? We're creative people, and I think that the opportunity right now is to reach out and extend your network. Don't necessarily ask anybody for a job because they've got no jobs to give, right? So we're all in the same place. Nobody's got no jobs to give, but you can ask for time. Can I have a little bit of time? Can I have a little bit of advice? I'd like to do this. Who can, you know, and start building up your network. And maybe take 3 or 4 people that you can really nurture that network with every now and again. Send them an email, reach out. You don't have to ask for anything. Just, you know, or nothing more than their time, 5 minutes or coffee. You know, building that network could be the real difference when things kind of, if they ever get, you know, when they kind of, what the new normal looks like when we get back there, it could be the difference of how you're working, right? So you could utilize this time. We've just had Derren Lawford join us from Dare Pictures. Thank you for joining us. Derren, do you want to just do a quick introduction as well? And if there's any thoughts maybe that you have just at the end of that conversation that you just jumped into.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name's Derren. We run a company called Dare Pictures. We aim to make impactful, insightful international docs, drama, film. I guess if we have a particular filter, it's through sort of a values filter, which is there is about making stuff that feels bold and memorable. Because if you're going to tell stories, then you might want to have them to have some sort of lasting impact. I guess that's my view. And DARE also stands for diversity, allyship, representation and empowerment, and we try to reflect that in everything we do on screen and off screen. In terms of where we are at in the industry and how people are feeling, like I think it's really important to, you know, I don't want this to sound trite, but I think it's really important to try and do things that give you joy, irrespective of whether that's anything to do with what it is your job is, right? So as an example, I love to play tennis, right? And I haven't had much time to play tennis because I'm busy trying to keep my company afloat. And I remember having a really, really bad day and thinking what I could really do with is play a game of tennis, but I also don't have the time because everything feels like it's, you know, the world's crumbling. So then I thought, okay, why don't I just try and find the time? And I did, and I felt really good. And I've been playing tennis a lot more regularly because it's not something, you know, work isn't what defines you. What makes you happy is what defines you. Your relationships are what define you. So, and I say that because, you know, it's just important that, like, this is a moment in time, right? And this moment in time will pass, right? It's already changing. It's already evolving. There are conversations that are beginning to happen, and I think what other people have said about doing other stuff, I think is really important, right? And by other stuff, I mean do whatever it takes to keep yourself in the game, right? If you need to be an admin assistant for a little bit, if you need to be an Uber driver for a little bit, whatever it is, there's no shame in that, right? Because when the opportunities come back, you can still do the other job that you're really good at doing, right? It's just keeping yourself in a position to be able to have those conversations.
And also it's about mindset, like well-being and mindset, because I think I've never heard that, the idea of finding joy, right? And I think that's so important, because if you're still feeling positive and you're enjoying what you're doing and you're finding time to do stuff, and remember, most of us in some kind of way are storytellers, right? So whether, even if you're a camera person or whatever, you still want to kind of help tell a story in some kind of way, and connecting with people and talking. I'm one of these, to be fair, I'm getting old. So I stand at a bus stop, I might be at a bus stop, and I talk to people all day long. And people's stories amaze me and blow my mind oftentimes and inspire me. And I think, oh my God, that would make a great story idea. Or I want to write something based on this random old woman who's just told me about her own bloody life while we're waiting for the bus. So there's ways that you can be really enhancing yourself and being self-care practices and stuff like that can keep you really balanced and really above in this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take about 2 or 3 questions. If you've got any questions, you can email them to me and I will forward. And we've got an online community as well. So you can join the online community and make sure you get your questions answered. And to join at the moment is free. So you can come in and join and ask questions. And there's a big community and they can answer the questions if we don't get all the questions asked. Because I do want to make sure we have some time for the speed networking, because I think that's so important that you guys connect in with other people and just remember that you're not on your own out here. But I'm going to go to Moe. Is it Moe? Am I pronouncing your name wrong? Right? And if I'm not, I apologize.
Yes.
I'm really crap.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Maui, beautiful name. Has it got a meaning very quickly? It's got meaning. It's very beautiful. Anyway, sorry.
I don't know actually, because just a bit of a backstory. I'm originally from the Philippines, but I moved to Spain when I was 17. So I kind of grew up in Malaga in Spain. Okay. And then I studied.
We haven't got time for the backstory because we've got a little.
Oh, sorry. So yeah. So basically, I am here because I moved here in the UK last year to do my master's. I'll be finishing my master's in producing this December, and I think my question would be, me having no experience yet here in the UK, how can I make my CV, my creative CV, more really interesting? Because obviously I do have my film production experience back in Spain, but not here in the UK. So it kind of like makes me feel down sometimes, competing with all the creatives here in London. It's a big pool. Let's say that. So yeah.
How do you stand out a little bit? Faye, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, somebody was talking about passion earlier. It is truly just a case of that, to be completely honest with you, kind of like highlighting what it is that you really enjoy watching and being able to demonstrate that. You can't hide that passion. And I think Emerald had said before, when you speak to somebody and you just see their eyes light up when they're talking to you about a particular show that they've seen or an episode that was on recently, that really does hold people in good stead. In terms of, your previous experience, I would definitely say that it's everyone has a different entry route in terms of television, and sometimes people feel that they're not as experienced as somebody else, or they haven't followed the same trajectory as somebody else. Honestly, following your own path is key in that regard, in terms of what your own tastes are, in terms of what you like to watch, in terms of what you, even in terms of your background coming from, the Philippines to Spain and now to England. So I would definitely say highlight that within your CV. Sometimes people think just the small kind of little things that may not be of interest to somebody or not important, that don't need to go onto their CV, they don't put on. And then you have a conversation with them and you find out so much more, and you kind of encourage them to put that on paper. We are in a creative industry. You can make your CV more poppy, more creative in terms of what you do, what you've done, and what you're hoping to do. I hope that kind of gives a little bit more clarity to your question. But yeah, don't make it formulaic. Sing about you, sing about what you've done and what you're hoping to do going forward.
Also,
can I just add something to that?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to hazard a guess, but I don't think there are many people from the Philippines that then went to Spain, that then came to the UK, that have production experience that are either on this Zoom or are in the industry, right? And so even if you're going up against lots of people, you're quite distinctive, right? And so you shouldn't forget that.
Very exactly.
Can I add something as well, just following on from Derren? Actually, I think that's an excellent point, Derren, because actually I think it goes back to deciding what you're trying to achieve and deciding the best means of achieving it. In your situation, a CV is not the best means of achieving what you want, which is a job, because you cannot compete. So you have to think of another way. And you have to be counterintuitive. And so to Derren's point, you have to work out what your story is and learn how to tell that story. And then you have to network. I think I would, if I was in your position, I would network. I think it's more impactful because on paper, you may not be able to stack up against the next person, but like you seem very dynamic, very engaging, very interesting. You know, if I was sitting next to you at a party or at a bar, a mixing event, at an Eventbrite event, a meetup, I'll talk to you. So I think I would personally go down that route and get busy, get involved in communities, go to lots of events, go to films, go to screenings, and just tap into the creative community. And I think that will be a better route than your CV personally.
And also, I would also add that you're kind of experiencing Philippine culture, for argument's sake, or Spanish culture or language, that you have expertise, that maybe a program maker, you know, they're making a program and they need somebody who understands something about Spain, and you automatically have that, right? So look for opportunities where your kind of niche or your life experience can kind of help out. I got a job, actually, my first job in TV. I lived in an area and they were making a documentary of an area. Actually, I would never advise you to do this though, because living and working in the same place is hell. And I actually went in and that was my expertise. That's how I got the job. It wasn't particularly because I didn't have the skills, but I knew everybody in the area and I could connect them and I could advise them. And so you can utilize other things in your life to kind of bring, you don't have to, it's not just about the CV and, you know, competing on that level. I'm going to take one more question. I think it's, yeah, thank you so much. I hope that's helpful.
That gave me fire.
Fire. Oh, good. And as Chelsea's preparing to put us in breakout rooms, can I get the next person? Is it, I should really need to get glasses. I'm so vague. Is it Abri? I'm saying that, yeah.
Oh, it's Arby.
Yeah, Arby. I was close. I apologize. I've got no glasses. I will have them next time. Please.
Yeah, so thank you guys for taking the time today. So I've just recently landed my first ever role last month with BGT, and recently I just did a work experience as well with Hollyoaks. So in terms of formatting your CV, could I put that together with like the paid industry experience, or do we have to put that on a separate row? So that's my question.
Yeah, that's good, Simon.
So just to clarify, so you worked at Hollyoaks, you worked at Britain's Got Talent, so you've got those two places that you worked in. I would talk about them as separate experiences, and I would go into a little bit more detail about what your role was there and what you were involved with. I think sometimes with CVs, they can be left up to misinterpretation because I think people are often too vague. And what I mean by that is, and I don't know what your roles were, but it's about giving context. So if you say I was responsible for finding 12 locations across the UK for this and for that, that gives me a sense of the scale of what you've been working at. Whereas if you just say I was a runner on Britain's Got Talent, did regular running duties, blah, 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 I may presume that you've worked at a certain level that you have or that you haven't. And I think it's about, you've got that experience, you've done that. What did you get from that? Give us some kind of context about it, because the person looking at your CV will be going, right, we need somebody to come in and we need them to have this, this, and this, and that. And if you can if that's clear from your CV, then you're more likely to get called in for a chat. That make sense?
Yeah, that did. Thanks. Thank you.
And just keep it factual. I know people feel like they don't want to kind of be arrogant or don't just sing their own praises. Well, another way around that is just being very factual. This is what I did. This is the level I was working at. I was responsible for this, and this is how I did it, kind of thing.
I think that's great advice. And I think also if you're not your own agent, and if you don't tell people what you've done, how are they going to know? Nobody else is going to know.
People will always presume you've done less than done more as well, I will say. So people will, if you downplay it, people will not think you've done more than you have.
Yeah, but don't lie. don't take it to lie, right? So in the realms of reality. But sing your own praises, be proud and sing your own praises. We've got one last question before we go to the breakout room. Is that Kyra? Is that Kyra? I'll give up on the name. The last person with their hand up. Could you? Yeah. Can you? Yeah. Is it Kyra? Is it Kyra? Am I saying it right? Yeah. Please go ahead. Sorry. We're not hearing you.
Did you mean me?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Oh,
it's
no, I
Keisha.
didn't. Sorry, I meant sorry. Not you. Hold on. There was somebody else. Is it? I can see Chiara. Yes. But I'm not. Yeah. Sorry. I apologize. Go ahead. Still not hearing you. Is anybody else hearing? Is it just me?
No, can't hear you.
All right, so I'm going to move on to the next question. Send me an email or we'll find a way. Yes, please, lady in the yellow jacket. Yeah, yellow waving at me. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, thank you so much. I really appreciate being given the opportunity to talk to you all today. My name is Fuchsia Phlox and I am an actress and I write scripts, everything from children to adults content. I'd be really interested in being able to have access to your emails. Because I thought that was really great that you're in those positions, in those roles, and yet you're still offering, advice to us newbies. I consider myself a newbie, and I'd be really interested. Where would you suggest that I send content to? Say, for example, scripted content.
Interesting question. Rob, do you want to go with this? Is kind of this seems like you're a little bit your space, actress.
Yeah, fine. Hi Fuchsia, we've just started representing writers and I did an MA in TV script writing, so I'm really interested in film and TV script writing. I think you need to aim it at specific producers. If you've got a kids TV program or something like that, find producers that have produced successful kids TV programs that you like. Otherwise, try and go through an agent like me. I mean, we are literally just kind of setting off on this path, and we just got funded by the Arts Council to work with actors to help them develop into writers. We did a showcase at the Belgrade Theatre a couple of months ago, and most of the writers on it, 6 or 7 writers of underrepresented voices, all produced short TV scripts, which was incredible. None of them have gone anywhere yet, but a couple have been made into full-length pilots that they've actually created themselves. So that's another good avenue. Obviously, if you've got the time and the resources to do that, so you can show people what your work might look like. But certainly, I'd be happy to have a chat with you and have a read of your work.
Brilliant. Thank you. How would I?
I'm going to share details. I'll share details on how you can connect with everybody afterwards in a
Thank you, Robert.
No
problem.
Thank you so much, and what an opportunity! What a wonderful opportunity! Gosh, do you know what I mean? So it was worth asking the question. What I'm going to do now is, because we've got about half an hour, and I really want to make sure that you guys get a little bit of networking in. Chelsea says she's ready. She's going to go into breakout rooms. I think because there's quite a few of you, we may go into rooms of 3 or 4. So all 3 or 4, we'll see how that pans out. But we're going to go into breakout rooms, and hopefully you will always be, or most of you will be, or at some point you'll get to speak to a panel guest. And I'll be here kind of just monitoring and just being on the outskirts. So Chelsea, can we put them all? Can you guys go and disappear all into breakout rooms? And I'll see you in 5 minutes. So you've got 5 minutes in the breakout room. You'll come back. So maybe you'll get a couple of rounds. We'll get a couple of rounds in.
Hi there. No, somebody asked the question and we were all like,
Sorry.
Really?
We were doing so well. We've taken a step back on that one.
Oh, such a
Sorry.
shame.
Did we take a step back on that one?
We did.
Hopefully she gets her answer anyway. Jonathan might remember the question.
She can email me a question. It's fine. I'm just dropping it.
Okay.
Jonathan, was you saying something really poignant? Just something.
I was about to. I was about to. No, that's okay.
Jonathan, I love your jumper, by the way. You're
Thank
making me
you.
feel very festive.
It's officially Christmas jumper day today. It's not like a random thing I'm doing on a Thursday, but yeah.
The jumper is good. The whole of December, you were just sporting different Christmas jumpers the whole of December.
Yes, I want to get mine out now.
Well, thank you guys for coming. And really
thank you for having us.
No, but thank you more importantly to the panel guests, because they gave up their time to and not only their time and their expertise, you know what I mean? They were so generous with their time and sharing. And I hope that even if you didn't get your question answered, that you kind of came away with something, or some kind of tip or inspiration, or something that you can think about, something that kind of inspires you. I'm a great believer that necessity is the mother of invention, right? So necessity is the mother of invention, right? So because it's hard doesn't mean that, you know, the industry might be talking about being hard. It is, it's going to be challenging, right? You're going to have to be a bit more creative. You're going to have to think a bit more laterally. You're going to have to dig deeper into your community, connect with your peers and associates. You're going to have to work a little bit smarter. Don't give up, man. It's like, it's a big wide world out there. Loads of things, loads of opportunities. This is the what I'm saying is like connect with each other. This is a time for opportunity. Create your opportunities. Don't just sit here thinking, oh my God, the industry is imploding. Oh my God, this is the end of my career. No, this is an opportunity for you to kind of make new opportunities, connecting. If you want to link with any of the panels, I'll send you details on how you connect with anybody that's been on this call. There'll be a full recording up of this session, or not the, obviously not the speed dating part, or the speed networking part, but definitely of the kind of session or the conversation. Please keep in contact. We're a community. We've got an online community that you can join. Please be part of our community. Don't feel like you're isolated and don't feel like you're alone. Thank you so much for your time. Special thanks to all our panel guests. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you all.